have a question, guys. Can you hear the nature sounds? When I was looking over my VOD yesterday, I noticed that the cute music I was listening to was not hearable. Nobody could hear the cute music I was listening to. So I was just talking on silence. Luckily I had lost it enough that it didn't really matter, but a cookie cake there. Ancient cookies. Are ancient cookies better than legendary cookies? I haven't played Cookie Run Kingdom since it came out. How are you guys today? Today I'm a bit off because all the plates, I think our dishwasher didn't work properly. So everything's clean, but it smells weird. Like, and this has happened before, and I bought like a dishwasher cleaner because it was bugging me so much. But like nobody else can smell it. It's only me. Only I can smell the weird like dishwasher smell. So I don't know if I'm like hypersensitive to it. I might just be, because that happens. But like it throws me off so much. I like lose my appetite, and I poured myself a nice big glass of water today, and I went to go take a sip and it's stinky. Hate when my sponges start stinking. Yeah, that's what it smells like. It smells like stinky sponges, like as if I used a stinky sponge to clean my... Oh, where's my pop cubs? I haven't know where my pop cubs. I want to see you guys. Yuck! Exactly. And I think because of that, my tummy's a little like silly. It reminds me of the smell of Alfredo. Alfredo sauce? Alfredo sauce is I can't remember it off the top of my head. But maybe, you know what, guys? Maybe if I put on a candle or something, it might help. Okay, wait. I'm gonna put on a candle. I have this candle here. It's called chilled sangria. It smells so good. Nono pyro mode. I wonder if you guys can hear. Here. Can you hear? I'm not good at lighting matches, by the way. Oh! That one's not working. Hi, Ash! I don't have a lighter. I can't use a lighter because I don't have a lighter. Did we start yet? No! I'm trying to light a candle. Ah! Oh, phew. Thought I lost it. It like the tip broke off and flew somewhere. Why is this so hard? I did it again! These matches suck. Is it very ASMR? ASMR is me trying to light a match. The scream made you. Why do they keep... Oh my god, they keep snapping. I've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. Speaking of ASMR, I was wondering if I should categorize my Warrior Cat streams as ASMR. Ah! I got it. I got it. Please. Please, just light. Please light. Please light. No! I don't think we should. True. I gotta be gentle? Okay, well, I got it to 1 caught on fire. Okay, I'm gonna do it gently. It's not working. Please. Please. Yes! Oh my god, it's on. It's going. It's going, guys. I did it. Did it work? Worked. Let me put my matches away and throw away all my little guys. All the, like, red powder is fallen. Ooh. Ooh. Do you guys ever get scared? Do you guys ever get scared that your matches will catch on fire again? When a match of mine doesn't light and I throw it in the garbage, I always get scared that it's gonna catch fire again in my trash can. I have a purple blowtorch. How big? Wait, like really big? Like a full blowtorch or like a cooking blowtorch? You get scared too? Yeah, good. I mean, not good, but at least I'm not alone in my fear. Pocket-sized? What the? The matchman chooses randomly whose match to light. That's so real, Juice. That would be a really good concept for a character. The matchman. The matchman choosing which match to light and which to laugh at. Like me, struggling. Okay, guys. Today's gonna be pretty chill because my tummy is a little silly goose and also smells are weird for me. But hopefully the candle will be nice. We're starting the 3rd book, Warrior Cats, Forest of Secrets. We don't really have to do a summary of the last book because it does a pretty good job at summarizing the last book for the first, like, 3 chapters. So we'll be okay. It's a secret. This is one of my faves. Oh, I can't remember anything in these books. I was spoiled by something that I read. Wait, no, I wasn't spoiled. I was like talking to my friend who had already read. I mean, we all read Warrior Cats, right? And I was just talking to her. I was like, oh yeah, we're starting XXYZ. And then she was like, oh yeah, that's when so-and-so happens. And I was like, what? That didn't happen, did it? And she was like, I'm sorry for spoiling Warrior Cats for you that you read a long, long time ago. And no. And I was like, it's okay. I forgive you. I can't believe I'm forgetting like things. Reading time. Hi, May! It's been a while. It is reading time. We're just starting the prologue. Oh, yeah. This is why this shouldn't be labeled as ASMR. Oh, yeah. You're right. I guess technically every chapter end, I kind of like go off. I've been more like lenient about like talking in the middle of chapters, especially if something like huge happens. I'm like, need to rush. I wanted to say hello. Hi. I hope you're doing well, and I hope the rest of your day goes well as well. As well. We are going to begin now. Probably. Okay. Prologue. Cold gripped the forest fields and moorland like icy claws. Snow covered everything, glittering faintly under a new moon. Nothing broke the silence in the forest except for the occasional soft rush of snow sliding from branches and trees, and the faint rasping of dry reeds when the wind swept through them. Even the murmur of the river was stilled by the ice that stretched from bank to bank. There was a flicker of movement at the edge of the river. A large tomcat, his bracken-colored fur fluffed up against the cold, emerged from the reeds. He shook snow impatiently from his paws as he sank into the snowdrifts with every step. In front of him, two tiny kits struggled forward with faint mews of distress. They floundered in the powdery snow, the fur on their legs and bellies matted into icy clumps, but every time they tried to stop, the tomcat nudged them on. The three cats trudged along the river until it widened out, and they drew level with the small island not far from the bank. Thick beds of reeds surrounded it, their dry stems poking through the ice. Stunted, leafless willow trees concealed the center of the island behind snow-covered boughs. Almost there, the bracken-colored Tom meowed encouragingly. Follow me. He slid down the bank into a narrow, frozen pathway through the reeds and leapt onto the dry, crisp earth of the island. The bigger of the two kits scrambled after him, but the smaller one collapsed on the ice and crouched there, mewing pitifully. After a moment's pause, the tomcat jumped down beside it and tried to nudge it onto its paws, but it was too exhausted to move. The tomcat gave its ears a lick, roughly comforting the helpless scrap, and then picked it up by the scruff of the neck and carried it onto the island. Beyond the willow trees was a stretch of open ground, broken by bushes. Snow covered the earth here, crisscrossed by the paw marks of many cats. The clearing seemed deserted, but bright eyes gleamed from shelter, watching the tomcat as he led the way to the largest clump of bushes and through the outer wall of the tangled branches. The icy chill of the air outside gave way to the warmth of the nursery and the smell of milk. In a deep nest of moss, a healthier gray she-cat was suckling a single tabby kit. She raised her head as the tomcat drew closer and gently sat down the kit he was carrying. The second kit staggered into the nursery behind him and tried to scrabble its way into the nest. "Oakheart," meowed the she-cat, "what have you got there?" "Kits, Greypool," Oakheart replied. "Will you take them? They need a mother to look after them." "But," Greypool's amber eyes were shocked, "whose kits are those? They're not river clans. Where did you get them?" "I found them in the forest." Oakheart didn't meet the she-cat's eyes as he spoke. "They're lucky a fox didn't find them first." "In the forest?" meowed the queen, her voice rasping with disbelief. "Oakheart, don't talk to me as if I'm mouse-brained. What cat would abandon her kits in the forest, especially in weather like this?" Oakheart shrugged. "Rogues, maybe? Or two-legs? How would I know? I couldn't leave them there, could I?" He nosed the smaller kit, which was lying completely still except for the rapid rise and fall of its tiny ribs as it breathed. "Greypool, please. Your other kits died. These will die too, unless you help them." Greypool's eyes clouded with pain. She looked down at the two kits. Their tiny mouths gaped pink, and they meowed pitifully. I have plenty of milk, she murmured half to herself. Of course I'll take them. Oakheart puffed out his breath in a sigh of relief. He picked up the first one kit and then the other and laid them next to Greypool. She nudged them gently into the curve of her belly next to her own kit, where they began to suckle eagerly. I still don't understand, Greypool meowed as they settled. Why would two kids be alone in the forest in the middle of Leaf Bare? Their mother must be frantic. The bright-colored Tom prodded a piece of moss with one massive front paw. I didn't steal them, if that's what you're thinking. Greypool looked at him for a long moment. No, I don't think you did, she meowed at last. But you're not telling me the whole truth, are you? I've told you all you need to know. No, you haven't. Greypool's eyes flashed with anger. What about their mother? I know what it's like to lose kits, Oakhart. I wouldn't wish that grief on any cat. Oakhart lifted his head and glared at her, a faint growl coming from the depths of his throat. Their mother is probably some rogue cat. This is not the weather to go looking for her. But Oakhart, just take care of the kits, please. The breaking-colored Tom sprang to his paws and turned abruptly to push his way out of the nursery. I'll bring you some fresh kill, he meowed over his shoulder as he left. When he had gone, Greypool bent her head over the kits, rasping her tongue over their fur to warm them. The melting snow had washed away most of their scent, though Greypool could still make out the faint odors of the forest, of dead leaves and frostbitten earth. And there was something beneath that, fainter still. Greypool paused in her licking. Had she really sensed that, or was she imagining things? Dipping her head again, she opened her mouth to breathe in the kit's scents. Her eyes grew wider, and she stared unblinking into the dark shadows that edged the nursery. She was not wrong. The fur of these two motherless kits, whose origins Oakhart refused to explain, unmistakably carried the scent of an enemy clan. Dun dun dun! Diddlin, 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 diddlin. Chapter 1. I'm glad you remember that, because I don't. I vaguely remember it, but not really. The drama! It's my favorite part. Warrior cats. The drama. Chapter 1. The icy wind whirled snow onto Fireheart's face as he struggled down the ravine towards ThunderClan camp. The mouse he had just killed gripped firmly in his jaws. The flakes were falling so thickly that he could scarcely see where he was going. His mouth watered as the prey scent of mouse filled his nostrils. He hadn't eaten since the previous night, a grim sign of how scarce prey was in Leaf Bare. Hunger clawed at his belly, but Fireheart would not break the warrior code. The clan must be fed first. A glow of pride briefly drove off the chill of the snow that matted his flame-colored coat as Fireheart remembered the battle that had taken place only 3 days before. They had joined the other ThunderClan warriors to help support WindClan when the Moorland cats were attacked by the other two clans in the forest. Many cats had been injured in that battle, so it was even more important for those who could still hunt to bring home prey. As Fireheart pushed his way through the gorse tunnel leading into the camp, he dislodged snow from the spiky branches above, and he flicked his ears as cold lumps fell on his head. The thorn trees around the camp gave some shelter from the wind, but the clearing in the center of the camp was deserted. All the cats preferred to stay in their dens to keep warm when the snow lay this thick. Broken tree stumps and the branches of a fallen tree poked out above the covering of snow. A single line of paw prints crossed from the apprentice den to the bramble thicket where the kits were cared for. Seeing the trail, Fireheart could not help remembering that he was without an apprentice now, since Cinderpaw had been injured beside the Thunderpath. Trotting across the snow into the heart of the camp, Fireheart dropped his mouse onto the pile of fresh kill near the bush where the warriors slept. The pile was pitifully small. Such prey as could be found was thin and scrawny, hardly a mouthful for a famished warrior. There would be no more plump mice until New Leaf, and that was many moons away. Fireheart was turning away, ready to go back on hunting duty, when a loud meow sounded from behind him. He whirled around. Shouldering his way out of the warrior's den was the clan deputy, Tigerclaw. Fireheart! Fireheart padded through the snow towards him, respectfully lowering his head, but conscious that the huge tabby's amber eyes burned into him. All his misgivings about Tiger Claw flooded through him again. The deputy was strong, respected, and an outstanding fighter, but Fireheart knew there was darkness in his heart. "You don't need to go out hunting again today," Tiger Claw growled as Fireheart approached. "Bluestar has chosen you and Graystripe to go to the gathering." Fireheart's ears twitched with excitement. It was an honor to accompany the clan leader to the gathering, where all 4 clans met in peace at full moon. "You had better eat now," added the dark-coated deputy. "We leave at moonrise." He began to stalk across the clearing towards High Rock, where Bluestar, the clan leader, had her den. Then he paused and swiveled his massive head to look back at Fireheart. "Just make sure you remember which clan you belong to at the gathering," he hissed. Fireheart felt his fur bristle as anger flared inside him. "What makes you say that?" he demanded boldly. "Do you think I would be disloyal to my own clan?" Tiger Claw turned to face him, and Fireheart tried hard not to flinch at the menace in the cat's tense shoulders. "I saw you last battle." The deputy's voice was a low growl, and his ears were flattened against his head as he spat. "I saw you let that RiverClan warrior escape." Fireheart winced, his mind flashing back to the battle in the WindClan camp. What Tiger Claw said was true. Fireheart had allowed a RiverClan warrior to flee without a scratch, but not out of cowardice or disloyalty. The warrior had been Silverstream. Unknown to the rest of ThunderClan, Fireheart's best friend, Graystripe, was in love with her, and Fireheart could not bring himself to wound her. Fireheart had done his best to talk his friend out of visiting Silverstream. Their relationship went against the warrior code and put both of them in grave danger, but Fireheart also knew that he would never betray Graystripe. Besides, Tiger Claw had no right to accuse any cat of disloyalty. He had stood at the edge of the battle, watching while Fireheart fought for his life against another RiverClan warrior, and turned away instead of helping him. And that was not the worst accusation Fireheart could make against the deputy. He suspected Tiger Claw for murdering the former ThunderClan deputy, Redtail, and even planning to get rid of their leader herself. "If you say I'm disloyal, I'll tell Bluestar," he meowed challengingly. Tiger Claw drew back his lips in a snarl and dropped into a half-crouch, sliding out his long claws. "I don't need to bother Bluestar," he hissed. "I can deal with a kitty pet like you." He stared at Fireheart for a moment longer. Fireheart realized with a jolt that there was a trace of fear as well as distrust in the blazing amber eyes. "Tiger Claw wonders how much I know," he thought suddenly. Fireheart's friend, Ravenpaw, Tiger Claw's own apprentice, had witnessed the murder of Redtail. Tiger Claw had tried to kill him to keep him quiet, so Fireheart had taken him to live with Barley, a loner who lived near a 2-leg farm on the other side of WindClan's territory. Fireheart had tried to tell Ravenpaw's story to Bluestar, but the clan leader refused to believe that her brave deputy could be guilty of such a thing. As he glared at Tiger Claw, Fireheart's frustration returned. He felt as if a tree had fallen and pinned him to the ground. Without another word, Tiger Claw swung around and stalked away. As Fireheart watched him go, there was a rustling from inside the warrior's den, and Graystripe poked his head out through the branches. "What on earth are you doing?" he meowed. "Picking fights with Tiger Claw like that. He'll turn you into crow food." "No cat has the right to call me disloyal," Fireheart argued. Graystripe bent his head and gave his chest a couple of licks. "I'm sorry, Fireheart," he muttered. "I know this is all because of me and Silverstream." "No, it isn't," Fireheart interrupted. "And you know it. Tiger Claw's the problem, not you." He shook himself, scattering snow from his coat. "Come on, let's eat." Graystripe pushed the rest of the way out and bounded towards the pile of fresh kill. Fireheart followed him, picked out a vole, and carried it back to the warrior's den to eat. Graystripe crouched beside him, near the outer curtains of the branches. Whitestorm and a couple of other senior warriors were curled up against the center of the bush, but otherwise the den was empty. Their sleeping bodies warmed the air, and barely any snow had penetrated the thick canopy of branches. Fireheart took a mouthful of the bowl. The meat was tough and stringy, but he was so hungry that it tasted delicious. It was gone It was gone far too quickly, but it was better than nothing, and it would give him the strength he needed to travel to the gathering. When Graystripe had finished his meal, in a few ravenous gulps, the two cats lay close, grooming each other's cold fur. It was a relief to Fireheart to share tongues like this with Graystripe again, after the troubling time when it seemed that Graystripe's love for Silverstream would destroy his friendship with Fireheart. Even though Fireheart still worried about his friend's forbidden affair, since the battle he and Graystripe had rekindled their friendship, so it was close as before. They needed to trust each other if they were to survive the long season of Leaf Bear, and even more than that, Fireheart knew he needed Graystripe's support against Tigerclaw's growing hostility. I wonder what news we'll hear tonight, he murmured in his friend's... I wonder what news we'll hear tonight, he murmured in his friend's gray ear. I hope RiverClan and ShadowClan have learned their lesson. WindClan won't be driven out of their territory again. Graystripe shifted uncomfortably. The battle wasn't just greed for territory, he pointed out. Prey is even scarcer than usual. RiverClan cats are starving since the Two-Legs moved into their territory. I know. Fireheart flicked his ears in a reluctant sympathy, understanding that his friend would want to defend Silverstream's clan. But forcing another clan out of their territory isn't the answer. Graystripe muttered agreement, and then fell silent. Fireheart knew how he must felt. It was only a few moons since they had crossed the Thunderpath to find WindClan and bring them home. Yet Graystripe was bound to sympathize with RiverClan too, because of his love for Silverstream. There was no easy answers. The shortage of prey would be a desperate problem for all four clans, at least until Leaf Bear relaxed its cruel grip on the forest. Growing drowsy under the steady rasp of Graystripe's tongue, Fireheart jumped at the rustle of the branches outside the den. Tigerclaw entered, followed by Darkstripe and Longtail. All three of them glowered at Fireheart as they settled in a huddle closer to the center of the bush. Fireheart watched them through slitted eyes, wishing that he could make out their conversation. It was too easy to imagine what they were plotting against. Fireheart's muscles tensed as he realized that he would never be safe within his own clan while Tigerclaw's treachery remained a secret. "What's the matter?" asked Graystripe, lifting his head. Fireheart stretched, trying to relax again. "I don't trust them," he muttered, flicking his ears in the direction of Tigerclaw and the others. "I don't blame you," meowed Graystripe. "If Tigerclaw ever found about Silverstream..." He shuddered. Fireheart pressed closer to his side, comforting him, while his ears still strained to catch what Tigerclaw was saying. He thought he heard his own name, and was tempted to creep up a little closer, but just then he caught Longtail's eyes. "What are you staring at, kitty pet?" hissed the tabby warrior. "ThunderClan only wants loyal cats." Deliberately, he turned his back on Fireheart. Fireheart sprang to his paws at once. "And who gave you the right to question our loyalty?" he spat. Longtail ignored him. "That does it!" Fireheart mewed in a fierce undertone to Graystripe. "It's obvious that Tigerclaw is spreading rumors about me." "But what can you do?" Graystripe sounded resigned to the deputy's hostility. "I want to talk to Ravenpaw again," Fireheart meowed. "He might remember something else about the battle. Something I could use to convince Bluestar." "But Ravenpaw lives in the Two-Leg farm now." "You'd have to go all the way across WindClan territory. How would you explain being out of camp for so long? It would only make Tigerclaw's lies seem like the truth." Fireheart knew he was willing to take the risk. He had never asked Ravenpaw for any details about how Redtail had died in the battle against RiverClan all those moons ago. At the time, it seemed more important to get the apprentice out of Tigerclaw's way. Now he knew that he had to find out exactly what Ravenpaw saw, because he was becoming more and more certain that his friend must know something that could prove just how dangerous Tigerclaw was to the clan. "I'll go tonight," Fireheart mewed softly. "After the gathering. I'm going to slip away. If I bring back fresh kill, I can say I've been hunting." "You're taking a big risk," mewed Graystripe, giving Fireheart's ears a quick and affectionate lick. "But Tigerclaw is my problem, too. If you're determined to go, then I'm coming with you." The snow had stopped and the clouds had cleared away by the time the ThunderClan cats, Fireheart and Graystripe among them, left the camp and headed through the forest towards Four Trees. The snow-covered ground seemed to glow in the white light of the full moon. The frost glittered on every twig and stone. A breeze blew towards them, ruffling the surface of the snow and bearing the scents of many cats. Fireheart shivered with excitement. The territories of all 4 clans met in the sacred hollow, and at every full moon a truce was declared for the clans to gather beneath the 4 great oaks that stood in the center of the steep-sided clearing. Fireheart fell in behind Bluestar, who had already dropped into a crouch to creep the last few tail lengths on top of the slope to peer down at the glade. A rock reared up in the center of the clearing, between the oaks, its jagged outline black against the snow. As Fireheart waited for Bluestar's signal to move, he watched the other clan cats greeting one another below. He could not help noticing the glares that raised hackles as Wind Clan faced the cats of River Clan and Shadow Clan. Clearly none of them had forgotten the recent battle. If it weren't for the truce, they'd be clawing one another's fur. Fireheart recognized Tallstar, the leader of Wind Clan, sitting near the great rock, with his deputy, Deadfoot, beside him. Not far away, Runny Nose and Mudfur, the medicine cats of Shadow Clan and River Clan, sat side by side, gazing at other cats with eyes that reflected the moon. Beside Fireheart, Graystripe's muscles were tense, and his yellow eyes glowed with excitement as he stared down into the glade. Following his gaze, Fireheart saw Silverstream emerge from the shadow, her beautiful black and silver coat rippling in the moonlight. Fireheart suppressed a sigh. "If you're going to talk to her, careful it sees you," he warned his friend. "Don't worry," Graystripe meowed, his front paws kneading the hard ground as he waited for the moment he could be with the River Clan cat again. Fireheart waited tensely for Bluestar's answer. Fireheart glanced at Bluestar, expecting her to give the signal to descend into the clearing, but instead he saw Whitestorm pad up and crouch beside her in the snow. "Bluestar," Fireheart heard the noble white warrior murmur, "what are you going to say about Broken Tail? Will you tell the other clans that we're sheltering him?" Fireheart waited tensely for Bluestar to answer. Broken Tail had once been Broken Star, leader of Shadow Clan. He had murdered his own father, Ragged Star, and stolen kits from Thunder Clan. In retaliation, Thunder Clan had helped Broken Star's own clan to drive him out of the forest. Not long after, Broken Star had led a bunch of rogue cats to attack the Thunder Clan camp. In the battle, Yellowfang, the Thunder Clan medicine cat, had scratched his eyes, and now Broken Tail was prisoner, blind and defeated. Even though the former leader had been stripped of his Star Clan given name, he was kept under close guard. Fireheart knew that the other clans would expect Thunder Clan to have killed him, or driven him out to die in the forest. They wouldn't welcome the news that Broken Tail was still alive. Bluestar kept her gaze fixed on the cats in the clearing below. "I will say nothing," she replied to Whitestorm. "It doesn't concern the other clans. Broken Tail is Thunder Clan's responsibility now." "Brave words," growled Tigerclaw from where he sat on the other side of Bluestar. "Or are we ashamed to admit what we've done?" "Tigerclaw has no need to be ashamed for showing mercy," Bluestar retorted coolly. "But I see no reason to go looking for trouble." Before Tigerclaw could protest, she sprang to her paws and faced the rest of the Thunder Clan cats. "Listen," she meowed. "No cat is to talk about the attack by the rogue cats or mention Broken Tail. These are matters for our clan alone." She waited until meows of agreement came from the assembled cats. Then she flicked her tail to signal that the Thunder Clan cats could join the other clans below. She raced down through the bushes, with Tigerclaw just behind her, his huge paws scattering snow. Fireheart bounded after them. As he slid out of the bushes into the clearing, he saw that Tigerclaw had stopped close by and was giving him a suspicious stare. "Graystripe," Fireheart hissed quietly over his shoulder. "I don't think you should go off with Silverstream tonight. Tigerclaw's already..." Fireheart suddenly realized that Graystripe was no longer beside him. Looking around, he saw his friend disappearing behind the great rock. A heartbeat or two later, Silverstream skirted around a group of Shadow Clan cats and followed him. Fireheart sighed. He glanced at Tigerclaw, wondering if the deputy had seen them go. But Tigerclaw padded away to join one Whisker from Wind Clan, and Fireheart let the fur lie flat on his shoulders again. Pacing restlessly across the clearing, Fireheart found himself near a group of elders, Patchpelt from Thunder Clan, and the others he did not know, crouching beneath a glossy leveled holly bush where the snow did not lie so thickly. Keeping one eye out for Graystripe, Fireheart settled down to listen to their conversation.
"I remember a leaf bear worse than this,"
It was an old black Tom who spoke, his muzzle turned to silver and his flanks scarred from many fights. He had the scent of WindClan on his short, patchy fur.
The river was frozen for more than 3 moons. You're right, Crowfur,
a tabby queen agreed.
The prey was scarcer too, even for RiverClan.
For a heartbeat, Fireheart felt surprised that the two elders from recent hostile clans could talk calmly without spitting hatred at each other. But then, they were elders, he reflected. They must have seen many battles in their long lives.
Young warriors today,
the old black cat added with a glance at Fireheart.
They don't know what hardship is.
Fireheart scuffled among the dead leaves under the bush and tried to look respectful. Patchpelt, crouched close to him, gave him a friendly flick with his tail.
That must have been the season when Bluestar lost her kits, recalled the ThunderClan elder.
Fireheart pricked up his ears. He remembered Dappletail saying something once about Bluestar's kits, which were born just before she became clan deputy. But he had never learned how many kits she had, or how old they were when they died.
Do you remember that thaw of that leaf bear?
Crowfur interrupted Fireheart's thoughts, his eyes unfocused as he lost himself into these memories.
The river in the gorge rose nearly as far as the badger sets.
Patchpelt shivered.
I remember it well. ThunderClan couldn't cross the stream to come here for the gathering.
Cats were drowned, the RiverClan queen remembered sadly.
Prey too, Crowfur added. The cats who survived nearly starved. May StarClan grant it not so bad this season, Patchfur mewed fervently.
Crowfur spat.
These young cats would never cope. We were tougher in those days.
Fireheart couldn't not help protesting. We have strong warriors now.
Who asked your opinion?
Growled the cranky old Tom.
You're hardly more than a kit.
But we... Fireheart broke off as the air was filled with a shrill yowl and all the cats fell silent. He turned his head to see the 4 cats on top of the great rock, silhouettes in the silver moonlight.
Shh!
Hissed Patchpelt.
The meeting's about to start.
He twitched his ears at Fireheart and purred softly.
Take no notice of Crowfur. He'd find fault with StarClan.
Fireheart gave Patchpelt a grateful look, tucked his paws under him, and settled down to listen. Tallstar, the WindClan leader, began by announcing how his cats were recovering after the recent battle against RiverClan and ShadowClan. One of our elders has died, he meowed, but our warriors will live to fight another day, he added meaningfully. Nightstar flattened his ears and narrowed his eyes, while Crooked Star let out a threatening growl from deep in his throat. Fireheart's fur prickled. If the leaders started to fight, their cats would fight too. Had it ever happened at a gathering? He wondered. Surely not even Nightstar, ShadowClan's bold new leader, would risk the anger of StarClan by breaking the sacred truce. As Fireheart apprehensively watched the bristling cats, Bluestar stepped forward. This is good news. Tallstar, she meowed smoothly. All of us should rejoice to hear that WindClan grows strong again. Her blue eyes glowed in the moonlight as she glanced at the leaders of ShadowClan and RiverClan. Nightstar turned away from her gaze, and Crooked Star dipped his head, his expression unreadable. It had been ShadowClan, under Broken Star's cruel command, who had first driven WindClan away, so that they could extend their own hunting grounds. RiverClan had taken advantage of their exile to hunt in the deserted territory, but after Broken Star's exile, Bluestar had convinced the other leaders that the life of the forest depended on all 4 clans, and that WindClan should return. Fireheart shivered as he remembered the long and difficult journey he had made with Greystripe to find WindClan and bring them home to their bleak upland territory. That reminded him of how he meant to cross the uplands again to find Ravenpaw, and he shifted uneasily. He was not looking forward to the journey. At least the WindClan cats are friendly towards ThunderClan, he thought, so we shouldn't get attacked on the way. ThunderClan cats are also recovering, Bluestar went on. And since the last gathering, 2 of our apprentices have become warriors. They will be known as Dustpelt and Sandstorm." Yowls of approval came up from the massive cats below the great rock. Mostly, Fireheart noticed, from ThunderClan and WindClan. He caught a glimpse of Sandstorm, sitting with her pale ginger head raised proudly. The gathering proceeded more peacefully now. Fireheart remembered the previous gathering, when the leaders had accused one another of hunting outside their own territory, but no cat had mentioned this now. A group of rogue cats, led by Broken Tail, had been responsible, but the news these rogues had attacked the ThunderClan camp, and he had soundly defended, did not seem to have spread. Lustra's secret about blind Broken Tail was safe. When the meeting was over, Fireheart looked around for Greystripe. If they were going to see Ravenpaw, they needed to leave soon, while the other ThunderClan cats were still in the hollow, and would not notice which way they went. Fireheart caught eye of Swiftpaw, Longtail's apprentice, sitting in the middle of the group of young cats from ShadowClan. Swiftpaw looked away guiltily. At any other time, Fireheart might have called him over and told him to find his mentor for the journey home, but right now, all he cared about was finding Greystripe immediately. He forgot Swiftpaw as soon as he saw his friend weaving his way towards him. There was no sign of Silverstream. "There you are!" Greystripe called, his yellow eyes shining. Fireheart could see that he enjoyed the gathering, though he doubted that his friend had listened much of the talk. "Are you ready?" he meowed. "To go and see Ravenpaw, you mean?" "Not so loud!" Fireheart hissed, anxiously looking around. "Yes, I'm ready," Greystripe mewed, more softly. "I can't say I'm looking forward to it. Still, anything to get Tigerclaw out of my fur. Unless you've had a better idea?" Fireheart shook his head. "This is the only way." The hollow was still full of cats, preparing to leave in 4 directions. No cat seemed to pay any attention to Fireheart and Greystripe until they had almost reached the slope that led to WindClan upland territory. Then a meow sounded behind them. "Hey, Fireheart! Where you going?" It was Sandstorm. Fireheart shot a desperate glance at Greystripe. "We're going the long way around," he improvised quickly. "Mudclaw from WindClan told us about a warren of young rabbits just outside our territory. We thought we'd bring back some fresh kill." Suddenly, alarmed by the thought that Sandstorm might offer to come with them, he added, "Tell Bluestar, will you, if she asks where we are?" "Sure," Sandstorm yawned, showing a mouth full of sharp, white teeth. "I'll think about you, dashing after rabbits, when I'm curled up in a nice warm nest." She patted off with a flick of her tail. Fireheart was relieved. He didn't like lying to her. "Let's go," he meowed to Greystripe, "before any other cat sees us." The 2 young warriors slid into the shelter of the bushes and crept up the slope. At the top, Fireheart paused for a moment, looking back to make sure they had not been followed. Then he and Greystripe bounded over to the rim of the hollow and raced towards the moorland, and, beyond that, the 2-leg farm. "This is the only way," Fireheart repeated to himself as he ran. He had to find out the truth. Not just for Redtail and Ravenpaw, but for the sake of the whole clan. Tigerclaw had to be stopped before he had a chance to kill again. Chapter 2 Sandheart. Greystripe and Fireheart reminded me of my best friend. Aww. Back, what I missed? I was in the part where Greystripe and Fireheart told each other they'd go fight. I read up to the Power of 3 and stopped after a certain big plot happening. Wait, did you read the end of the Power of 3, or did you keep reading, Ben? Power of 3 was my favorite season of Warrior Cats. But the first one does hold a special place in my heart. You're getting pretty sleepy. You can go to bed as I read. It's a bedtime story. Dream of Warrior Cats. Dream of Warrior Cats. But yeah, it does do a very good job at summarizing everything that happened in the books previously. Luckily. So even if like you weren't here, At least I've read the books. Yeah. In the past? What was I saying? I don't know. Okay, anyways, chapter 2. Fireheart sniffed warily at the path where the snow had been trampled down by two legs. Light shone from the two-leg nest, and somewhere close by he could hear a dog barking. He remembered Barley telling him that the two legs let the dogs off the chains at night. He just hoped that he could locate Ravenpaw before he and Graystripe were noticed. Graystripe slipped through the fence and padded up to him. The icy wind flattened his gray fur against his body. "Smell anything?" he asked. Fireheart lifted his head and tasted the air, and almost at once he caught the scent he was searching for. Faint but familiar. Ravenpaw. "This way," he mewed. He crept along the path, the hard surface icy under his paws. Cautiously, he followed the scent to a gap at the bottom of the barn door where the wood had rotten away. He sniffed, drinking in the smell of hay and the strong, fresh scent of cats. "Ravenpaw," he whispered. When there was no reply, he repeated, louder, "Ravenpaw?" "Fireheart, is that you?" A surprised mew came from the darkness on the other side of the door. "Ravenpaw!" Fireheart squeezed through the gap, thankful to be out of the wind. The scents of the barn flowed around him, and his mouth began to water as he detected the smell of mouse. The barn was dimly lit by the moonlight filtering through a small window high under the roof. As his eyes adjusted, Fireheart saw another cat standing a few tail lengths away. His friend looked even sleeker and better fed than when Fireheart had last seen him. Fireheart realized how scrawny and bedraggled he must look in comparison. Ravenpaw purred happily as he padded over to Fireheart and touched noses with him. "Welcome," he mewed. "It's good to see you." "Good to see you," Graystripe meowed, pushing his way through the gap in the door after Fireheart. "Did you get WindClan back to their territory safely?" Ravenpaw asked. Fireheart and Graystripe stayed with him during the journey to bring WindClan home. "Yes," mewed Fireheart. "It's a long story. We can't..." "Well, what's going on in..." Oh, wait. Right. "Well, what's going on in here?" Another cat's meow interrupted them. Fireheart spun around, flattening his ears, ready to fight if this newcomer was a threat. Then he recognized Barley, the black and white loner who had willingly shared his home with Ravenpaw. "Hi, Barley," Fireheart meowed, calming down. "We need to talk to Ravenpaw." "So I see," Barley meowed. "And it must be important to bring you across the moors in this weather." "Yes, it is," Fireheart agreed. He glanced at the former ThunderClan apprentice, the urgency of his mission prickling through his fur. "Ravenpaw, we don't have any time to waste." Ravenpaw looked puzzled. "You know you can talk to me as much as you want." "I'll leave you to it then," Barley offered. "Feel free to hunt. We got plenty of mice here." He gave a friendly nod to the visiting cats and squeezed out under the door. "Hunt? Really?" meowed Graystripe. Fireheart felt sharp pangs of hunger grip his belly. "Of course," mewed Ravenpaw. "Look, why don't you eat first? Then you can tell me why you're here." "I know Tigerclaw killed Redtail," Ravenpaw insisted. "I was there. I saw him do it." The three cats were crouched in the hayloft of the two-leg barn. Hunting had not taken very long. After the desperate struggle to find prey in the snow-covered forest, the barn seemed to the hungry ThunderClan warriors to be overflowing with mice. Now Fireheart was warm and his stomach felt comfortably full. He would have liked to curl up and sleep in the soft, fragrant hay, but he knew he had to talk to Ravenpaw right away if he and Graystripe were to get back to camp before their absence was noticed. "Tell us everything you remember," he urged, giving Ravenpaw an encouraging nod. Ravenpaw stared ahead of him, his eyes dark as he journeyed back into his mind to the battle at the Sunning Rocks. Fireheart could see his confidence beginning to ebb. The black cat was losing himself in these memories, reliving the fear and the burden of what he knew. I'd been wounded in the shoulder," he began. "And Redtail, he was our deputy then, as you know, told me to hide in a crack in the rock until it was safe to get away. I was just going to make a dash for it when I saw Redtail attack a RiverClan cat. I think it was a gray warrior called Stonefur. Redtail knocked Stonefur off his paws and looked as if he were about to sink his claws for some serious injury." "Why didn't he?" Graystripe put in. Oakheart came out of nowhere, Ravenpaw explained. He sank his teeth into Redtail's scruff and pulled him off Stonefur. His voice shook as the memories flooded through his mind's eye. Stonefur ran away. The cat paused, unconsciously crouching down as if he were scared of something very close by. What next? Fireheart prompted gently. Redtail spat at Oakheart. He asked him if RiverClan warriors were unable to fight their own battles. Redtail was brave. Ravenpaw added. The RiverClan deputy was twice his size, and then Oakheart said a strange thing. He told Redtail, no ThunderClan cat will ever harm that warrior. What? Graystripe narrowed his eyes until they were yellow slits. That doesn't make any sense. Are you sure you heard him right? Positive, insisted Ravenpaw. But the clans fight all the time, meowed Fireheart. What's so special about Stonefur? I don't know, Ravenpaw shrugged, shying away from their searching questions. So what did Redtail do after Oakheart said that? He asked Graystripe. Ravenpaw's ears pricked up as his eyes widened. He flew at Oakheart. He bowled him right off his paws and underneath a rocky overhang. I couldn't see them, though I could hear them snarling. And then I heard a rumbling sound, and the rock collapsed on top of them. He stopped shivering. Please go on, Fireheart mewed. He hated putting Ravenpaw through this, but he had to know the truth. I heard a screech from Oakheart, and I saw his tail sticking out from under the rocks. Ravenpaw closed his eyes, as if he wanted to shut out the sight, and then opened them again. Just then I heard Tigerclaw behind me. He ordered me to go back to camp, but I'd only gone a little way when I realized I had no idea if Redtail was okay after the rock fall. So I crept back, past all the RiverClan warriors that were running away, and when I got to the rocks, Redtail was charging out of the dust. His tail was straight up and his fur stood on end, but he was all right. Not a scratch on him that I could see, and he ran straight into Tigerclaw, who was in the shadows. And that was when... Graystripe began. Yes. Ravenpaw's claws flexed as if he was imagining himself back in the battle. Tigerclaw grabbed Redtail and pinned him down. Redtail struggled, but he couldn't break free, and... Ravenpaw swallowed and stared at the floor. Tigerclaw sank his teeth in Redtail's throat, and it was all over. He dropped his chin onto his paws. Fireheart moved closer to him and pressed his body against Ravenpaw's flank. So, Oakheart died when the rocks fell on him. It was an accident, he murmured. No cat killed him. That still doesn't prove that Tigerclaw killed Redtail, Graystripe pointed out. I don't see that any of this helps us at all. For a heartbeat, Fireheart stared at him, discouraged. Then his eyes widened and he sat up, paws tingling with excitement. Yes, it does. If we can prove the rockfall story, it shows that Tigerclaw was lying when he said Oakheart killed Redtail, and when he claimed to have killed Oakheart in revenge. Just a minute, Graystripe interrupted. Ravenpaw, at the gathering you didn't say anything about fallen rocks. You made it sound as if Redtail killed Oakheart. Did I? Ravenpaw blinked and struggled to focus on Graystripe. I didn't mean to. This is what really happened, I promise. And that's why Bluestar won't listen to us, Fireheart went on excitedly. She couldn't believe that Redtail would have killed another deputy. But Redtail didn't kill him. Bluestar would have to take us seriously now. Fireheart's brain was whirling with everything they had discovered. He wanted to ask Ravenpaw more questions, but he could smell the fear scent on his friend and saw the old haunted look in his eyes, as if telling the story had brought back all his unhappy memories of ThunderClan. Is there anything more you can tell us, Ravenpaw? He mewed gently. Ravenpaw shook his head. This means so much to the clan, Fireheart told him. Hopefully now we stand a chance of convincing Bluestar that Tigerclaw is dangerous. If she listens, Graystripe pointed out. It's a pity you told her Ravenpaw's story first. First story, he added to Fireheart. Now he's changed everything. She won't know what to believe. But he hasn't changed everything, Fireheart protested, as Ravenpaw flinched at Graystripe's irritable tone. We misunderstood, that's all. I'll convince Bluestar somehow, he added. At least we know the truth now. The black cat looked a little happier, but Fireheart could see that he didn't want to think about the past anymore. He settled beside Ravenpot, purring encouragement, and for a short while the three cats shared tongues. Then Fireheart pushed himself to his paws. "It's time we get on our way," he meowed. "Take care," Ravenpaw mewed, "and watch out for Tiger Claw." "Don't worry," Fireheart assured him. "You've given us what we need to deal with him." With Graystripe behind him, he slid under the door and ventured out into the snow. "It's freezing out here," Graystripe grumbled as they bounded down the fence at the edge of the two-leg farm. "We should have taken a couple more of those mice to feed the clan," he added. "Yeah, right," Fireheart retorted. "And what would you tell Tiger Claw when he asked you where you found such fat mice in this weather?" The moon was close to setting, and soon the sky would begin to pale towards dawn. The chill of the snow soon penetrated Fireheart's winter-thick fur, even colder after the warmth of the barn. His legs were aching with weariness. It had been a long night, and they still had to cross WindClan territory before they could rest in their own camp. Fireheart could not stop thinking about what Ravenpaw had told them. He was sure that his friend was telling the truth, but it would be hard to convince the rest of the clan. Bluestar had already refused to believe Ravenpaw's original story. Yet that was when Fireheart thought Redtail had killed Oakhart. Bluestar could not accept that Redtail would kill another warrior unnecessarily. Now Fireheart understood the real story, that Oakhart had died by accident. But how could Fireheart accuse Tigerclaw again unless he had something to back up what Ravenpaw had told him? The RiverClan cats would know, he realized aloud, pausing under a rocky outcrop of the moorland slope where the snow was not so thick. "What?" meowed Graystripe, padding up to him to share the shelter. "No, what?" "How Oakhart died," Fireheart replied. "They must have seen Oakhart's body. They would be able to tell us whether he died from a rock fall, not a death blow from a warrior." "Yeah, the marks on his body would prove it," Graystripe agreed. "They might know what Oakhart meant when he said that no ThunderClan cat would attack Snowfur," Fireheart added. "We need to speak to a RiverClan warrior who took part in the battle, maybe Stonefur himself." "But you can't just walk into RiverClan camp and ask," Graystripe protested. "Think of how tense it was at the gathering. It's too soon after battle." "I know one RiverClan warrior who'd welcome you," Fireheart murmured. "If you mean Silverstream, yes, I could ask her," Graystripe agreed. "Now, can we please get back to the camp before my paws freeze completely?" The two cats padded onward, more slowly now as weariness made their limbs heavy. They were within sight of the 4 trees when they spotted 3 other cats climbing the hillside. The breeze carried the scent of WindClan patrol to Fireheart. Not wanting to explain their presence in WindClan territory, he looked swiftly around for cover, but the snow stretched smoothly on all sides, with no rocks or bushes nearby, and it was clear that the WindClan cats had already seen them, as they changed directions to meet them. Fireheart recognized the familiar uneven gait of the clan deputy, Deadfoot, with the tabby warrior, Tornir, and his apprentice, Running Paw. "Hello, Fireheart," called Deadfoot, limping up with a puzzled look in his eye. "You're a very long way from home." Yes," Fireheart admitted, dipping his head respectfully. We just picked up a ShadowClan scent trail and it led us up here." "ShadowClan on our territory!" Deadfoot's fur began to bristle. "I reckon it was an old sin," Graystripe put in hastily. "Nothing to worry about. We're sorry we crossed your border." You're welcome here," meowed Tornir. "The other clans would have destroyed us in the last battle if your clan hadn't helped. Now we're sure they'll keep away. They know they have ThunderClan to reckon with." Fireheart felt embarrassed at Tornir's praise. He and Graystripe had helped WindClan cats in the past, but this time he was uncomfortable with the thought that any cats from WindClan had seen them on their territory. We'd best be getting back," he muttered. "Everything seems quiet enough up here." "May StarClan light your path," he meowed. Or Deadfoot meowed gratefully. The other WindClan cats wished Fireheart and Graystripe good hunting and went on towards their camp. "That was bad luck," Fireheart growled as he and Graystripe padded down the 4 trees. "Why?" asked Graystripe. "The WindClan cats didn't mind us on their territory. We're all friends now." "Use your brains, Graystripe," Fireheart mewed. "What if Deadfoot mentions that he saw us to Bluestar at the next gathering? She's bound to wonder what we were doing out there." Graystripe stopped. "Mouse dung," he spat. "Never thought of that." His eyes met Fireheart's, and Fireheart saw his own uneasy feelings reflected there. Blue Star won't like it if she finds out we're sneaking around investigating Tiger Claw. He set off again, picking up the pace until the two cats were racing over the snow. As they skirted the hollow with the 4 trees and entered their own forest territory, he relaxed a little, pausing to drink in the air and in hope of picking up the scent of prey. Graystripe sniffed hopefully among the roots of a nearby tree and came back looking disappointed. Nothing, he grumbled. Not a single mouse, not even a whisker. We haven't got time to keep looking, Fireheart decided. He saw the sky was growing lighter above the trees. Time was running out, and their absence from camp was more likely to be noticed with every heartbeat. The dawn light was growing stronger as they reached the ravine. Limbs aching with weariness, muscles stiff with cold, Fireheart led the way silently between the boulders towards the gorse tunnel. Thankful to be home at last, he bounded into the tunnel's dark mouth. As he emerged into camp, he skidded to a halt, so abruptly that Graystripe cannoned into him from behind. Fireheart didn't reply. Sitting a few tail lengths away in the middle of the clearing was Tiger Claw. His head was sunk below his massive shoulders, and his yellow eyes were gleaming with triumph. "Maybe you'd like to tell me where you've been," he growled, "and why it took you so long to get back from the gathering." Dun 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 dun. Oh, who's off?
Hi, Kazuma. Hi, Yoshi. And bye, Saki.
We're heading out now. I hope you'll enjoy your reading the rest of your day stream. Thank you! Oh my god, guys. Do you know what I want all of a sudden? Extremely strongly? Kool-Aid. Oh my god, I want Kool-Aid so badly. I've never felt the urge for Kool-Aid more than I do in this exact moment. This is so weird. I don't think I've had Kool-Aid in years. Like, years. Oh man, right? I haven't had Kool-Aid in so many years. Why am I thinking about it right now? Oh my god. We used to like make Kool-Aid popsicles. And if you guys want to know a trick, if you're ever making Kool-Aid popsicles or popsicles in general, mix it with apple juice. So if you're making a Kool-Aid popsicle, instead of adding water, add apple juice. Then it won't get watered down and it'll taste good and it has a healthy apple juiceness. I need that McDonald's battery acid. McDonald's has Kool-Aid? Does it? I don't want to order anything because I'm trying to be better at ordering things right now, but Kool-Aid! The thing is, if I get Kool-Aid, you need so much sugar. Doesn't like Kool-Aid call for like 4 or 6 cups of sugar? So much sugar. Or a bad kid. I used to sneak the powder out of the cupboard and hide it behind the couch and eat it straight from the container. I did too! But not Kool-Aid, only Jell-O. Jell-O was good. You could eat Jell-O. Kool-Aid was nothing. Like, Kool-Aid was just the flavor, but not the sugar. I once tried eating Kool-Aid like Jell-O, but it wasn't. It just didn't hit. It didn't hit. You'd eat lemonade. Oh. I hope that tasted good. Minute Maid. Oh, yeah. I did that. I did that too. There's nothing yummier than getting a spoon. Or, oh my god, did you ever get like those cans? Like the frozen cans of juice? And then you would like, there was like that pull tab thingy, and then you pull the tab and then the little top metal part pops off. And when the top metal part pops off, there's kind of like a syrupy bit to it, like stuff that hasn't frozen completely because it doesn't freeze completely. And I would just lick it. I would just lick it off of the metal lid part. It was so good. The orange one. Oh. Why am I thinking about this? I must be thirsty. I'm thirsty, but not for... But my glasses are gross! Hydrate! Okay, I'll drink some of my juice. My juice was in a non-stinky glass, so that's good. Okay, let's carry on. A little something. Chapter 3. Well, Tiger Claw challenged. We thought we'd hunt. Fireheart raised his head to hold the deputy's amber gaze. The clan needs fresh kill. But we couldn't find anything, Graystripe added, coming to stand beside Fireheart. Was the prey all curled up in their nests, eh? Tigerclaw hissed. He padded forward until he stood nose to nose with Fireheart, sniffed him, then did the same to Graystripe. So, how is it the pair of you smell like mouse? Fireheart exchanged a glance with Graystripe. It seemed a long time since they had hunted in the two-leg barn. He had forgotten that they might still be carrying the scent of mice they ate. Graystripe looked back at him helplessly, anxiety making his eyes wide. Bluestar should hear about this, the deputy growled. Follow me. Fireheart and Graystripe had no choice but to obey. Tigerclaw led him across the clearing to Bluestar's den at the foot of the high rock. Beyond the curtain of lichen that covered the entrance, Fireheart could see the clan leader curled up, apparently asleep. But as Tigerclaw shouldered his way into the den, she raised her head at once and sat up. What is this, Tigerclaw? She meowed, sounding puzzled. These two brave warriors have been out hunting. Tigerclaw's voice was thick with contempt. They're fully fed, but they haven't brought home a single piece of fresh kill for the clan. Is this true? Bluestar turned her icy blue eyes to the young warriors. We weren't on hunting patrol, Graystripe mumbled. That was true, thought Fireheart. Strictly speaking, they hadn't broken the warrior code by not bringing back any prey. But he knew it was not a real excuse. We ate the first prey we caught to keep our strength up, he meowed, and then we couldn't find anything else. We meant to bring back fresh kill, but our luck was out. Tigerclaw gave a snort of disgust, as if he didn't believe a word Fireheart had said. Even so, Bluestar meowed, with prey so scarce, every cat should think of the clan before himself, and share what they have. I'm disappointed in both of you. Fireheart couldn't help but feel ashamed. Bluestar had brought him into the clan when he was a kitty pet, and he wanted to show her that he deserved her trust. If he had been alone with Bluestar, he might have tried to explain the real reason for being so late to camp, but with Tigerclaw glaring at him, it was impossible. Besides, Fireheart wasn't ready to tell Bluestar about Ravenpaw's latest version of the Sunning Rocks battle. He wanted to speak to cats from RiverClan first, to confirm how Oakheart had really died. I'm sorry, Bluestar, he murmured. Sorry, Phil Snowbellies, Bluestar warned him. You must understand that the needs of the clan come first, especially in Leaf Bear. Until next sunrise, you'll hunt for the clan, not for yourselves. When the rest of the clan has eaten, then you can take food for yourself. Her gaze softened. You both exhausted, she observed. Go and sleep now, but I shall expect to see you out hunting before sun-high. Yes, Bluestar. Fireheart dipped his head and backed out of the den. Graystripe followed him, his fur fluffed up in a mixture of fear and embarrassment. I thought she'd have her tails off for sure, he meowed as the two cats turned towards the warrior's den. Then you should think yourselves lucky. The low growl came from behind them. Fireheart glanced over his shoulder to see that Tigerclaw was padding after them. If I were clan leader, I'd have punished you properly. Fireheart felt his fur prickle with anger. His lips drew back in the beginning of a snarl. Then he heard a warning hiss from Graystripe and bit back what he wanted to say, turning away from Tigerclaw again. That's right, kitty pet, Tigerclaw jeered. Slink back into your nest. Bluestar may trust you, but I don't. I saw you at the WindClan battle. Don't forget. He bounded past the two younger cats and pushed his way into the warrior's den ahead of them. Graystripe let out a long, shivering breath. Fireheart, he meowed solemnly. You're either the bravest cat in all the clans or raving mad. For Starkland's sake, don't wind Tigerclaw up any more. I didn't ask for him to hate me, Fireheart pointed out angrily. He slid through the branches to see Tiger Claw settling himself into his place near the center. The dark tabby ignored Fireheart, turning himself around 2 or 3 more times before curling up to sleep. Fireheart made for his own sleeping place. Nearby, Sandstorm and Dustpelt were stretched out together. Sandstorm sat up as Fireheart approached. Tiger Claw's been... How did I do her voice? Tiger Claw's been watching for you ever since we got back from the gathering, she whispered. I gave him your message, but I don't think he believed me. What did you do to tweak his tail? Fireheart felt comforted by the sympathetic look in her eyes, but he couldn't stop his jaws from gaping in a massive yawn. I'm sorry, Sandstorm, he mumbled. I've got to get some sleep. I'll talk to you later. He half expected Sandstorm to be offended, but instead she got up and padded over to him. As he settled into the soft moss that lined the floor of the den, she crouched down beside him and pressed her side against his. Dustpelt opened one eye and glared at Fireheart. He let out a snort and pointedly turned his back. But Fireheart was too tired to worry about Dustpelt's jealousy. He was already drifting into sleep. As his eyes closed, his last sensation was of Sandstorm's fur warm against his flank. Fireheart paced along the hunting trail. His body felt full of energy, and he opened his jaws to taste the scent of prey. He knew he was dreaming, but he felt his belly growl in anticipation of fresh kill. Bracken arched over his back. A bright, pearly light poured down on him, as if the moon was full in a cloudless sky. Every fern froned, every blade of grass glowed, and the pale shapes of primrose, clustering thickly beside the path, seemed to shine with the light of their own. All around him, Fireheart could feel the damp warmth of New Leaf. The icy, snow-covered camp seemed 9 lives away. As the path began to lead upward, another cat stepped out in front of him. Fireheart halted, his heart thudding as he recognized Spotted Leaf. The tortoiseshell cat padded forward until she could touch her soft pink nose to his. Fireheart rubbed his face against hers, a purr rising from deep inside him. When Fireheart first came to the forest, Spotted Leaf had been the ThunderClan medicine cat. She had been killed in cold blood by an invading ShadowClan warrior. Fireheart missed her still, but her spirit had returned to him in dreams more than once. Spotted Leaf took a pace back. Come, Fireheart, she mewed. I want to show you something. She turned and padded softly away, glancing around from time to make sure he was following. Fireheart bounded after her, admiring the dapple of moonlight on her fur. Soon they came to the top of the hill. Spotted Leaf led him out of the break-in tunnel into a high, grassy ridge. Look, she meowed, raising her muzzle to point. Fireheart blinked. Instead of the familiar span of trees and fields ahead of him, a shining expanse of water stretched as far as he could see. The reflected light dazzled him, and he closed his eyes. Where had all this water come from? He couldn't even tell if this was clan territory. The silver sheen flattened everything and hid the usual landmarks. Spotted Leaf's sweet scent filled the air around him. Her voice sounded close to his ear. Remember, Fireheart, she murmured, water can quench fire. Startled, Fireheart opened his eyes again. A chill breeze fluttered the surface of the water, penetrating his fur. Spotted Leaf was gone. As Fireheart turned in every direction, searching for her, the light began to fade. The warmth went with it, the feeling of grass under his paws. In less than a heartbeat, he was plunged into cold and darkness. Fireheart! Fireheart! The cat was nudging him. Fireheart tried to duck away, but heard his name called again. It was Graystripe's voice. Fireheart forced his eyes to open to see the big gray cat crouched anxiously over him. Fireheart, he repeated. Wake up, it's nearly sun high. Grunting with effort, Fireheart hauled himself out of his nest and sat up. Pale, cold light was filtering through the branches of the den. Willowpelt and Darkstripe still slept close to the center of the bush, but Sandstorm and Dustpelt had left already. You were muttering in your sleep, Graystripe told him. Are you okay? What? Fireheart had not yet shaken off the dream. It was always a bitter waking to realize that Spotted Leaf was dead, and he would never speak to her again except in his dreams. It's nearly sun high, repeated Graystripe. We should be out hunting. I know, Fireheart mewed, fighting to wake up properly. Hurry up, then! His friend gave him a final nudge before heading out of the den. Meet you at the gorse tunnel. Fireheart licked one paw and rubbed it over his face. As his head cleared, he suddenly remembered Spotted Leaf's warning. Water can quench fire. What was she trying to tell him? Fireheart thought back to Spotted Leaf's earlier prophecy, that fire would save the clan. As he followed Greystripe out of the den, Fireheart found himself shivering, and not from cold. He could feel trouble gathering like rain-heavy storm clouds. If the water that was coming quenched fire, then what would save the clan? Did Spotted Leaf's words mean that ThunderClan was doomed? Oh, flooding! I didn't even think about that. My mom's slippers 'cause you hit different. Please, Rave. Chapter 4. We're already on page 33. We're making good progress. Chapter 4. Fireheart bounded up the ravine, the snow crisp under his paws. The sun shone in a pale blue sky, and though there was little warmth in its rays, the sight of it cheered Fireheart and made him hopeful that New Leaf was not far away. Just behind him, Greystripe echoed Fireheart's thoughts. With any luck, the sun'll bring prey out. Not if they hear you stomping along, Sandstorm teased as she scrambled past him. Breaking-Paw, Greystripe's apprentice, protested loyally. He doesn't stomp! But Greystripe only responded with a good-natured growl. Fireheart felt new energy flow through his limbs. Even though their duties today were meant as punishment, no cat had told them they had to hunt alone, and it was good to be with friends. Fireheart winced at the memory of Bluestar's icy-cold gaze when she had rebunked him and Greystripe for apparently hunting for themselves. He would make up for lying to her by bringing back as much fresh kill as he could. The clan needed it badly. By the time he and Greystripe left the den that morning, the store of prey in the camp had almost gone, and most of the cats had already left to hunt. Fireheart had spotted Tigerclaw on his way back down the ravine with the morning patrol. A squirrel was clamped in his jaws, its long tail brushing the snow. The deputy's eyes narrowed menacingly as he passed Fireheart, but he did not put his prey down to speak. At the top of the slope, Sandstorm ran on ahead of him, while Greystripe began showing Breaking-Paw where to search for mice among the tree roots. Watching them, Fireheart couldn't suppress a pang of loss as he thought of Cinderpaw, who had been his own apprentice. She would be with them now if it hadn't been for her accident. Instead, her crippled leg, the result of an accident on the Thunderpath, kept her in the den with Yellowfang, the ThunderClan's medicine cat. Pushing away these heavy thoughts, he crept forward. His jaws parted as he examined the forest smells. A faint breeze stirred the surface of the snow and brought a familiar scent. Rabbit! Lifting his head, Fireheart could see the brown-furred creature snuffling under a clump of bracken, where a few green spikes of grass poked through the snow. He dropped into a hunting crouch, and delicately, paw step by paw step, drew closer. At the last moment, the rabbit sensed him and sprang up, but it was too late. Before it could even squeal, Fireheart had pounced. Triumphantly, Fireheart headed back to the camp, dragging a rabbit along with him. As soon as he entered the clearing, he saw with relief that the pile of fresh kill was swelling again after the morning patrols. Bluestar was standing beside it. Well done, Fireheart, she meowed as he brought the rabbit to the pile. Will you take that straight to Yellowfang in her den? Warned by his leader's approval, Fireheart hauled the rabbit across the clearing. A tunnel of ferns, brown and brittle now, led to the secluded corner of camp where ThunderClan Medicine Cat had her den inside a split rock. Ducking under the ferns, Fireheart saw Yellowfang lying in the mouth of her den with her paws tucked under her chest. Cinderpaw sat in front of her, her smoky gray fur fluffed up and her blue eyes focused on the Medicine Cat's broad face. Now, Cinderpaw, came the old cat's raspy mew. One Eye's paw pads are cracked because of the cold. What are we going to do for her? Marigold leaves in case of infection, Cinderpaw replied promptly. Ointment of yarrow to soften the pads and heal them. Poppy said if she's in pain. Well done, purred Yellowfang. Cinderpaw sat up even straighter, and her eyes shone with pride. As Fireheart knew only too well, the Medicine Cat didn't give praise lightly. Right. You can take her the leaves with the ointment. meowed Yellowfang. She won't need the poppy seeds unless the cuts get worse. Cinderpaw stood up and was on her way into the den when she caught sight of Fireheart standing by the tunnel. Mewing in delight, she hurried over to him with an awkward, lurching gait. Regret stabbed at Fireheart, sharp as a claw. Cinderpaw had been a ceaseless bundle of energy before the Thunderpath accident that crushed her legs. Now she would never run properly again, and had to give up her dreams of becoming a ThunderClan warrior. But the Thunderpath monster had not crushed her bright spirit. Her eyes were dancing as she reached Fireheart.
Fresh kill! She exclaimed. Is that for us? Great!
About time, too, grumbled Yellowfang, still sitting inside her den. Mind you, the rabbit's very welcome, she added. We've had half the clan in here since sunrise, complaining about some ache or another. Fireheart carried the rabbit across the clearing and dropped it in front of the medicine cat. Yellowfang poked it with one paw. It might have a bit of flesh on its bones for once, she remarked grudgingly. All right, Cinderpaw, take the marigold leaves in the yarrow to One Eye, and hurry back. If you're quick, there might be some rabbit left. Cinderpaw purred and brushed Yellowfang's shoulder with the tip of her tail as she went past her into the den. Softly, Fireheart mewed. How's she doing? Is she settling down? She's fine, snapped Yellowfang. Stop worrying about her. Fireheart wished he could. Cinderpaw had been his apprentice. He could not help feeling that he had been partly responsible for her accident. He should have stopped her from going to the Thunderpath alone. Then he brought himself up short, remembering exactly how the accident had happened. Tigerclaw had asked Bluestar to meet him by the Thunderpath, but Bluestar had been too ill to go. Few warriors were in the camp. Fireheart himself had been about to leave on an urgent mission for catnip to treat Bluestar's green cough. He had told Cinderpaw not to go meet Tigerclaw instead of him, but Cinderpaw had ignored his orders. The accident had happened because Tigerclaw had placed his scent markers too close to the edge of the Thunderpath. Fireheart suspected it was meant as a trap for Bluestar, and Tigerclaw was responsible. As Fireheart said goodbye to Yellowfang and went back to hunting, he felt a new surge of determination to bring Tigerclaw's guilt into the open. For the sake of Redtail, murdered. For the sake of Redtail, murdered. For Ravenpaw, driven from the clan. For Cinderpaw, crippled. And for all the clan cats, both now and to come, who were in danger from Tigerclaw's greed for power. It was the day after their hunting punishment. Fireheart had decided there was no time to lose before visiting RiverClan territory to discover how Oakheart had really died. He crouched at the edge of the forest and looked out towards the frozen river. The wind made a rustling sound in dry reeds that poked up through the ice and snow. Beside him, Graystripe sniffed the breeze, alert for the scent of other cats. I can smell RiverClan cats, he whispered, but the scent is old. I think we can cross safely. Fireheart realized he was more worried about cats from his own clan seeing him than meeting an enemy patrol. Already Tigerclaw suspected him of treachery. If the deputy found out what they were doing now, they'd be crow food. All right, he whispered back. Let's go. Graystripe led the way confidently across the ice, keeping his weight low over his paws so that he didn't slip. At first, Fireheart was impressed. Then he realized Graystripe had been crossing the river secretly for moons now to go meet Silverstream. He followed more cautiously, half expecting the ice to crack under his weight and plunge him into the freezing dark water below. Here, downstream of the Sunning Rocks, the river itself was the boundary between the two clans. Fireheart's fur prickled as he crossed, and he kept glancing back to make sure that no cat from his clan was watching. Once they reached the far bank, they crept into the shelter of a reed bed and sniffed the air again for signs of RiverClan cats. Fireheart was conscious of Graystripe's unspoken fear. Every muscle of Grey Warrior's fur was tense as he peered through the reed stems. We must both be mad, he hissed to Fireheart. You made me promise to meet Silverstream at Four Trees whenever I wanted to see her, and now here we are, in RiverClan territory again. I know, Fireheart answered, but there's no other way. We need to talk to a RiverClan cat, and Silverstream's more likely to help us than any of the others. He was just as apprehensive as his friend. They were surrounded by the scents of RiverClan, though none of them were fresh. To Fireheart, it felt as if To Fireheart, it felt as if he were a kitty pet in the forest for the first time, lost in a frightening and unfamiliar place. Using the reeds for cover, the two cats began to work their way upstream. Fireheart tried to step lightly, as if he were stalking prey, his belly skimming the snow. He was uncomfortably aware of how his flame-colored coat stood out against the white surface. The scent of RiverClan cats was growing more powerful. He had guessed the cat must be nearby. "How much further?" he mewed softly to Graystripe. "Not far. See that island up ahead?" They had come to a place where the river curved away from the ThunderClan territory and grew wider. Not far ahead, a small island surrounded by reed beds showed above the frozen surface. Willow trees stooped low from the banks of the island, the tips of their overhanging branches trapped in the ice. An island? Fireheart echoed in amazement. But what happens when the river isn't frozen? Do they swim across? "Silverstream says the water's very shallow there," Graystripe explained, "but I've never been right into camp myself." Beside them, the ground sloped gently upwards, away from the reedy shore. At the top, gorse and hawthorn grew thickly, with occasional hollies showing green and shining under its coating of snow. But there was a bare expanse of shore between the reeds and the sheltering bushes, with no cover for prey or cats. Graystripe had been moving forward in a low crouch. Now he lifted his head, scenting the air and looking wearily around them. Then, without warning, he sprang away from the reeds and dashed up the slope. Fireheart raced after him, his paws skidding in the snow. Reaching the bushes, they plunged between the branches and stopped, gasping for breath. Fireheart listened for yowling of an alerted patrol, but no sound came from up the camp. He flopped down on the dead leaves and puffed out a sigh of relief. "We can see the entrance of the camp here," Graystripe told him. "I used to wait here for Silverstream." Fireheart froze in a crouch. Fireheart hoped she would come soon. Every moment they spent here increased their chances of discovery. Shifting his position so he had a good view of the slope and the island camp, he could just make out the silhouettes of cats moving around. He was so intent of trying to peer into the thick bushes that screened the island that he didn't see the tabby who had just padded past their hiding place until she was barely a tail length away. She carried a small squirrel in her jaws, and her gaze was fixed on the frozen ground. Fireheart froze in a crouch, ready to spring out if the cat spotted them, and tracked her with his gaze as she passed. Luckily, he thought, the scent of the prey she was carrying must have masked the scent of ThunderClan intruders. Suddenly, he realized that a group of 4 cats, led by Leopardfur, the RiverClan deputy, had emerged from the camp. Leopardfur was fiercely hostile towards ThunderClan ever since her patrol had come upon Fireheart and Graystripe trespassing on RiverClan territory as they returned from bringing WindClan home. A RiverClan cat had died in the ensuing fight, and Leopardfur did not forgive easily. If she discovered Fireheart and Graystripe now, she wouldn't give them a chance to explain what they were doing on this side of the river. To Fireheart's relief, the patrol didn't come their way. Instead, they set off across the frozen river towards the Sunning Rocks, off to patrol the border, Fireheart guessed. At last, a familiar silver-gray shape appeared. "Silverstream," purred Graystripe. Fireheart watched the RiverClan she-cat step delicately across the ice towards the bank. She was certainly beautiful, he realized, with a finely shaped head and thick, sleek fur. No wonder Graystripe was captivated by her. Graystripe rose to his paws, ready to call out to her, when 2 other cats emerged from the camp and ran to catch up with Silverstream. One of them was the smoky black warrior Blackclaw, recognized from gatherings by his long legs and lean body, and the other smaller cat Fireheart guessed must be Blackpaw's apprentice. "Hunt and patrol," Graystripe murmured. All 3 cats began to climb the slope. Fireheart let out a hiss, half impatient, half fear. He had hoped they would be able to speak to Silverstream alone. How could they separate her from her companions? What if Blackclaw scented the intruders? After all, he wasn't carrying a helpful mouthful of prey to block his scent glands. Blackpaw took the lead with his apprentice, and Silverstream followed a tail length or 2 behind. As the patrol reached the bushes, Silverstream paused, her ears pricked warily as if she detected a familiar but unexpected scent. Graystripe let out a short, sharp hiss, and Silverstream's ears swiveled towards the sound. "Silverstream," Graystripe mewed softly. The she-cat flicked her ears, and Fireheart let out a breath she had heard. "Blackclaw," she called to the warrior ahead of her. "I'll try find a mouse in the bushes here. Don't wait for me." Fireheart heard an answer mew from Blacklaw. Moments later, Silverstream slipped through the branches until she reached the space where the young ThunderClan warriors were crouching. She pressed herself against Graystripe, purring loudly, and the two cats rubbed their faces together with obvious delight. Dude, they are so in love. They are so in love. They're so cute. What the heck? I thought you only wanted us to meet at 4 trees, Silverstream meowed, when the two cats had finished greeting each other. What are you doing here? I brought Fireheart to see you, Graystripe explained. He needs to ask you something. Fireheart had not spoken to Silverstream since he had let her escape in battle. He guessed she was remembering that too, for she dipped her head graciously towards him, with no trace of the defensive hostility she had shown when he tried to discourage her from seeing Graystripe at the start of their relationship. Yes, Fireheart? What do you know about the battle at Sunning Rocks, where Oakheart died? Fireheart launched straight in. Were you there? No, Silverstream replied. She looked thoughtful. Is it very important? Yes, it is. Could you ask some cat who was? I'll do better than that, Silverstream interrupted. I'll bring Mistyfoot to talk to you herself. Fireheart exchanged a glance with Graystripe. Was that a good idea? It's okay, meowed Silverstream, as if she guessed what was worrying him. Mistyfoot knows about me and Graystripe. She doesn't like it, but she won't give me away. She'll come now if I ask her. Fireheart hesitated, then dipped his head in assent. All right, thanks. He had hardly finished speaking before Silverstream turned and slid out of the bushes again. Fireheart watched her bounding through the snow towards camp. Isn't she great? Graystripe murmured. Fireheart said nothing, but settled down to wait. He was getting more nervous with every moment that passed. If he and Graystripe stayed in RiverClan territory for much longer, some of the RiverClan cats were bound to find them. They would be lucky to escape with their furs intact. Graystripe, he began, if Silverstream can't... Just then he saw the silver-gray tabby crossing the ice from camp again, with another cat behind her. They raced up the slope, and Silverstream led the way into the bushes. The cat she brought with her was a slender queen with thick gray fur and blue eyes. For a heartbeat, Fireheart thought she seemed familiar. He decided he must have seen her at a gathering. When the queen saw Fireheart and Graystripe, she stopped dead. Her fur began to raise suspiciously, and she flattened her ears against her head. Mistyfoot, meowed Silverstream quietly. These are ThunderClan cats, hissed Mistyfoot. What are they doing here? This is RiverClan territory. Mistyfoot, listen. Silverstream went over to her friend and tried to nudge her towards Fireheart and Graystripe. Mistyfoot stood her ground. Fireheart couldn't help feeling daunted by the look of blank hostility in her eyes. Had he been stupid to think that RiverClan would help him? I kept your secret about him, Mistyfoot reminded Silverstream, jerking her chin at Graystripe. But I'm not going to keep quiet if you start bringing a whole ThunderClan here. Don't be ridiculous, Silverstream retorted. It's all right, Mistyfoot, Fireheart put in quickly. We aren't taking any of your prey, and we're not here to spy. We need to speak to a cat who fought in the battle at Sunning Rocks, where Oakheart died. Why? Mistyfoot narrowed her eyes. It's hard to explain, Fireheart mewed. But it's nothing that could harm RiverClan. I swear that by StarClan, he added. The young queen seemed to relax, and this time she let Silverstream urge forward until she was sitting beside Fireheart. Graystripe stood up, ducking his head to avoid the low-hanging branches. If you two are gonna talk, Silverstream and I will leave you to it. Oh my god. Graystripe stood... Where was it? Where was I? Fireheart opened his mouth to protest, alarmed at the idea of being left alone in enemy territory. But Graystripe and Silverstream were already slipping out of the bushes. Before they vanished among the tough hawthorn branches, Graystripe looked back. Oh, Fireheart, he meowed quietly. Before you go back, make sure you roll something strong to hide the RiverClan scent. He blinked in embarrassment. Fox dung is good. Wait, Graystripe. Fireheart jumped to his paws, but it was no use. Graystripe and Silverstream were gone. Yo, they are so in love. Don't worry, meowed Mistyfoot behind him. I won't eat you. You'd give me a bellyache. Fireheart turned back to see her blue eyes sparkling with amusement. You're Fireheart, aren't you? She went on. I've seen you at gatherings. They say you used to be a kitty pet. Her voice was cool, with thinly veiled suspicion. That's true, Fireheart admitted heavily, feeling the familiar sting at the contempt of clanborn cats for his past. But I'm a warrior now. Mistyfoot licked her paw and drew it slowly over one ear, keeping her eyes fixed on his face. All right, she meowed at last. I fought in the battle. What do you want to know? Fireheart paused for a moment, putting his thoughts in order. He would only have one chance to find out the truth. He mustn't make any mistakes now. Get on with it, growled Mistyfoot. I left my kids to come talk to you. It won't take long, Fireheart promised. What can you tell me about the way Oakhart died? Oakhart? Mistyfoot looked down at her paws. After a deep breath, she lifted her eyes to Fireheart again. Oakhart was my father. Did you know that? No, I didn't, mewed Fireheart. I'm sorry, I never met him, but they say he was a brave warrior. He was the best and the bravest, Mistyfoot agreed, and he should have never died. It was an accident. Fireheart felt his heart begin to race. This was exactly what he needed to know. Are you sure? He asked. No cat killed him. He was wounded in battle, but not enough to kill him, meowed Mistyfoot. Afterwards, we found his body under some fallen rocks. Our medicine cat said that's what killed him. So no cat was responsible, Fireheart muttered. Ravenpaw was right. What? The blue-gray queen frowned. Nothing, Fireheart meowed hastily. Nothing important. Thank you, Mistyfoot. That's just what I wanted to know. Then if that's all... No, Mistyfoot, wait. There's one more thing. In the battle, one of our cats heard Oakhart say that no ThunderClan cat should harm Stonefur. Did you know what he meant by that? The RiverClan queen was silent for a while, her blue eyes gazing in the distance. Then she shook her head firmly, as if she were flicking water off it. Stonefur is my brother, she mewed. Then Oakhart is his father too, Fireheart realized. Is that why he wanted to protect him from the ThunderClan cats? No! Mistyfoot's eyes flashed blue fire. Oakhart never tried to protect either of us. He wanted us to be warriors like him and bring honor to the clan. Then why? I don't know. She sounded as if she was genuinely puzzled. Hi, lazy boy. Fireheart tried not to feel disappointed. At least he knew for certain how Oakhart had died, but he couldn't shake off the feeling of what Oakhart had said about Stonefur was important. If only he could understand it. My mother might know. Mistyfoot meowed unexpectedly. Fireheart turned back to her. His ears prickled. Greypool, she added. If she can't explain, no cat can. Could you ask her? Maybe. Mistyfoot's expression was still guarded, but Fireheart guessed that she was as curious about the meaning of Oakhart's words as he was himself. But it might be better for you to speak to her yourself. Fireheart blinked in surprise that Mistyfoot would suggest such a thing when she had seemed so hostile at first. Can I? He asked. Now? No, Mistyfoot decided after a pause. It's too risky for you to stay here any longer. Leopardfur's patrol will be back soon. Besides, Greypool is an elder now, and hardly ever leaves camp. She'll take some persuading before she'll come out, but don't worry, I'll think of a reason. Fireheart bowed his head in reluctant agreement. Part of him was wildly impatient to hear what Greypool had to say. The rest of him knew that Mistyfoot was right. How will I know where to meet her? I'll send you a message with Silverstream, Mistyfoot promised. Now go. If Leopardfur finds you here, I won't be able to help you. Fireheart blinked at her. He would have liked to give the young queen a lick of gratitude, but he was afraid of getting clawed a year in return. Mistyfoot seemed to have gotten over the worst of her hostility, but she wasn't going to let him forget that they came from two different clans. Thank you, Mistyfoot, he meowed. I won't forget this, and if I can ever do anything for you... Just go, Mistyfoot hissed. As Fireheart slipped past her towards the gap in the bushes, she added with a purr of amusement, Don't forget the fox dung. Chapter 5. Hi, lazy boy, you deserve a follow. Have a good day. I'll check up on you every day. Oh, thanks! Can you read Percy Jackson next time? That is likely. I mean, possible. I want to read all the old nostalgic books. Like, books that we read as you know, like childhood books. Percy Jackson is one of those books. But we have to get through Warrior Cats first, which is a big series. But Percy Jackson is a big series too. Is Percy Jackson done? I don't think so. It's still ongoing, isn't it? I don't know why, but when I read, my nose gets so itchy. Chicka chicka boom boom. voice. Like when I talk too much. My nose is too itchy. I think I'm reading faster because I'm getting better at reading. We're already on chapter 41, which is bonkers. So I must actually be getting better at reading. We might be able to finish this book in like, what, 3 streams? Wild. Whenever I bottle feed my niece, my face gets super itchy. Are you allergic to babies? Are you allergic to bottled milk? I miss babies. I need to... I really want... There's like a volunteer thing, I think, where you can like go to hospitals and like hold babies while their parents are like recovering or whatever, resting. And I wish that could be me, but I don't think the hospital near me has like a pregnancy ward. Maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not too either. Guys, I want to eat a maple candy, but I don't want to eat this. Anyways, let's discuss what's going on right now. Okay, so they're trying to find out why Oakheart said no ThunderClan cat would harm Stonefur. And we know Stonefur and Misty Foot are brother and sister. Oakheart is their father. So maybe they were saying it because, like, if a ThunderClan cat attacked the deputy's children, that would suck. I don't know. Oh, weird. I've never heard about that. When I went to see my sister in the hospital, baby was in the room 24/7 with her. Yeah, I don't know. It might depend on the place or the hospital. I know if they have like big baby rooms, then you can like volunteer and do it. Like, you know, like in hospitals where you walk past and then you can see all the babies in those little plastic container thingies. Or like babies that are like, I don't know, weak. They need to be in the hospital for a while. All the babies were with their mothers in their rooms. Wow. Well, that's good. It could be for babies that aren't staying with their moms. Like, you know, some people have a baby and then they put them up for adoption immediately. And they just leave and leave their baby in care of the hospital for when the adoptive parents come and pick them up. Yeah, surrogate mothers. Yeah. Maple candy. Okay. Let's do another chapter and see how we're feeling afterwards. Chapter 5. I can't believe I'm doing this, Fireheart muttered as he pushed through the gorse tunnel into his own camp. Oh, wait, I got a text from my mama. Let them get stuck in your teeth? Remember, I am at an event downtown tonight. Oh, dang. Oh, dang. Have fun. Dang. Like molar to molar shut my mouth. I know that feeling so well. Maybe guac and chips? Lisa. Yeah? Pleading face. My sister is picking up Mexican food. Krista. All right. She picked up treats from a bakery too. Very fancy. Okay. Chapter 5. I can't believe I'm doing this, Fireheart muttered as he pushed through the gorse tunnel into his own camp. He had found some fresh fox dung in the forest and had rolled it in until he reeked. No cat would ever guess he had been into RiverClan territory now. Whether they would let him back into the warrior's den was another matter. At least he had managed to catch a squirrel on his way back, so he wasn't returning empty-pawed. As he emerged from the gorse tunnel, Fireheart saw Bluestar standing on top of the high rock. He realized that he had just missed hearing her call the clan together because other cats were appearing from their dens to gather below her. Fireheart left his squirrel in the pile of fresh kill and padded over to join them. Across the clearing, Brindleface's kits tumbled out of the nursery, followed by Brindleface herself. Fireheart could easily pick out his sister's son, Cloudkit, by his gleaming white fur. Princess, Fireheart's sister, who still lived in Two-Leg Place, had no wish to leave the comfortable kitty pet life, but Fireheart's tales of the clan had captivated her, and she had given her eldest son to the clan. What protein? Chicken. So far, the clan cats were finding it hard to accept another kitty pet among them, even though Brindleface treated him like one of her own kits. Fireheart knew from experience how much determination Cloudkit would need to make a place for himself. As he drew closer, Fireheart heard the white kit complaining loudly to Brindleface.
Why can't I be an apprentice? I'm nearly as big as that dumb ginger kid of Frostfurs.
Fireheart's interests quickened. Bluestar must be about to perform an apprentice naming ceremony for Frostfur's two remaining kits. Their brother and sister, Breaking Paw and Cinderpaw, had been named apprentices a few moons ago. Fireheart could guess that these two must be desperate for their own naming. He was glad that he had returned in time to witness it. Shh! Brindleface whispered to Cloudkit, as she gathered her kits around her and found them a place to sit. You can't be an apprentice until you're 6 moons old.
Well, I want to be an apprentice now.
Fireheart left Brindleface trying to explain clan customs to the insistent Cloudkit and went to sit near the front of the gathering, next to Sandstorm. Her head whipped around in alarm as he took his place. Fireheart, where have you been? You smell like a fox that's been dead for a moon. Sorry, Fireheart mumbled. It was an accident. He hated the stench as much as any cat, and he didn't like having to lie to Sandstorm about how he came to smell like that. Well, stay away from me till it wears off. Though Sandstorm's words were firm, there was laughter in her eyes as she shifted a tail length away from him. And clean yourself up before you come into the den, growled a familiar voice. Fireheart turned to see Tigerclaw standing behind them. I'm not going to sleep with that stink in my nose. Fireheart dipped his head in embarrassment as Tigerclaw stalked away, then looked at as Bluestar began to speak. We are gathered here to give 2 clan kits their apprentice names. She glanced down at where Frostfur was sitting proudly, with her tail curled neatly over her paws. The two kits sat one on each side of her, and as Bluestar spoke, the bigger of them, a ginger kit like his brother, Breaking Paw, sprang impatiently to his paws. Yes, come forward, both of you, Bluestar invited warmly. The ginger kit dashed forward and skidded to a stop at the foot of the high rock. His sister followed more sedately. She was white like her mother, except for the ginger patches along her back and a ginger tail. Oh, that's pretty. Fireheart closed his eyes for a moment. Not long ago, he had been given Cinderpaw as his apprentice. He half wished that he could mentor one of these kits, but he knew that if Bluestar had chosen him for this honor, she would have already told him to expect it. Perhaps she would never choose him again, he thought with a pang that chilled his heart, after he had failed Cinderpaw so badly. Mousefur, meowed Bluestar, you have told me that you are ready to take on an apprentice. You will mentor Thornpaw. Fireheart watched as Mousefur, a wiry, compact she-cat with brown fur, stepped forward and went to stand beside the ginger kit, who scrambled up to meet her. Mousefur, Bluestar went on, you have shown yourself a brave and intelligent warrior. See that you pass on your courage and wisdom to your new apprentice. While Bluestar spoke, Mousefur looked just as proud as the newly named Thornpaw. The two of them touched noses and withdrew to the edge of the clearing. Fireheart could hear Thornpaw meowing eagerly, as if he was already plying his mentor with questions. The ginger and white kit was still standing beneath the high rock, looking up at Bluestar. Fireheart was close enough to see her whiskers quivering with anticipation. Whitestorm, Bluestar announced. You are free to take on a new apprentice now that Sandstorm has become a warrior. You will mentor Brightpaw. The big white cat, who had been stretched out in front of the gathering, stood up and padded over to Brightpaw. She waited for him with her eyes shining. Whitestorm, meowed Bluestar, you are a fine warrior of great skill and experience. I know that you will pass on all you know to this young apprentice.
Certainly, Whitestorm purred. Welcome, Brightpaw.
He bent to touch noses with her and escorted her to the back of the assembled cats. The other cats began to gather around, congratulating the two new apprentices and calling them by their names. As he went to join them, Fireheart caught sight of Graystripe at the back of the crowd. Beside the tunnel, his friend must have returned to camp unseen while the rest of the clan was listening to Bluestar. It's all arranged, Graystripe mused softly, padding over to Fireheart. If it's sunny tomorrow, Silverstream and Mistyfoot will persuade Graypool to leave camp for some exercise. They'll meet us at Sun High. Where? Fireheart asked, not sure if he wanted to go far into RiverClan territory 2 days running. It was dangerous to leave so much fresh ThunderClan scent there. There's a quiet glade just over the border, not far from the Two-Leg Bridge, Graystripe explained. Silverstream and I used to meet there before, you know. Fireheart understood. Graystripe had been keeping his promise about meeting Silverstream only at the Four Trees, and it was only because of his desire to find out about Sunning Rock's battle that they were taking an extra risk. Thank you, he murmured sincerely. As he padded over to the pile of fresh kill to choose a piece for himself, his paws twitched in anticipation of next Sun High, when he would discover what Graypool knew of this mystery. Dun 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 dun! Okay. My sister just keeps asking me about food stuff. Okay. This is the place, Graystripe whispered. He and Fireheart were only a few rabbit hops over the RiverClan border, on their side of the river. The ground gave way to a deep hollow, sheltered by thorn bushes. Snow had drifted there, and a tiny stream, frozen now into icicles, carved a deep channel between two rocks. Fireheart guessed that when New Leaf came and the snow melted, this would be a beautiful and well-hidden place. The two cats squeezed under one of the thorn bushes and scrambled among the dead leaves to make comfortable nests while they waited. Fireheart had caught a mouse on his way and brought it as a gift for Graypool. He dropped it when the leaves were driest, trying to forget his own hunger, and settled down with his paws tucked under him. He knew he was putting himself and his friends in danger with this meeting, not to mention the fact that he was breaking the warrior code and lying to his clan. Yet he believed that this was all for the sake of his clan. Fireheart only wished he could be sure that the path he chose was the right one. The weak leaf-bare sunlight glittered on the snow in the hollow. Sun-High had come and gone, and Fireheart was beginning to think that the other cats weren't coming, when he caught a RiverClan scent and heard a thin, elderly voice raised in complaint from the direction of the river.
This is far too for my old bones. I'm gonna freeze to death.
Nonsense, Greypool. It's a beautiful day. That was Silverstream. The exercise will do you good. Fireheart heard a snort of contempt in response. 3 cats came into view, picking their way down the side of the hollow. 2 of them were Silverstream and Mistyfoot. The third was an elder he had never seen before, a skinny she-cat with patched fur and the scarred muzzle turning white with age. Halfway down the hollow, she paused, stiffened as she sniffed the air.
There are ThunderClan cats here, she hissed.
Fireheart saw Silverstream and Mistyfoot exchange a worried glance. Yes, I know, Mistyfoot soothed the elderly she-cat. It's all right. Greypool gave her a suspicious look.
What do you mean, all right?
Right.
What do you mean, all right? What are they doing here?
They just want to talk to you, Mistyfoot said gently. Trust me. For a heartbeat, Fireheart was afraid that the elder would turn back, yowling, to raise the alarm. But to his relief, Greypool's curiosity was far too much. She padded after Mistyfoot, shaking her paws with the disgust as they sank into the soft snow. Greystripe, Silverstream mewed warily. Greystripe stuck his head out of the bush. We're here. The 3 RiverClan cats pushed their way into the prickly shelter. Greypool tensed as she came face to face with Fireheart and Greystripe. Her yellow eyes flared with hostility. This is Fireheart and this is Greystripe, meowed Silverstream. They?
2 of them,
Greypool interrupted.
There had better be a good explanation for this.
There is, Mistyfoot assured her. They're decent cats, for ThunderClan anyway. Give them a chance to explain. Both she and Silverstream looked expectantly at Fireheart. We need to talk to you, Fireheart began, feeling his whiskers twitch nervously. He pushed a piece of fresh kill towards her with one paw. Here, I brought you this. Greypool eyed the mouse.
Well, at least you remembered your manners, ThunderClan or not.
She crouched down and began to crunch the fresh kill, showing broken teeth with age.
Stringy, but it'll do,
she rasped, gulping. While she was eating, Fireheart tried to find the right words for what he needed to say. I want to ask you something about something Oakhart said before he died, he ventured. Greypool's ears twitched. I heard what happened in the Battle of Sunning Rocks, Fireheart continued. Before he died, Oakhart told one of our warriors that no ThunderClan cat should ever harm Stonefur. Do you know what he might have meant? Greypool did not reply until she had swallowed the last morsel of mouse and swiped the remarkably pink tongue around her muzzle. Then she sat up and curled her tail around her paws. She fixed a thoughtful gaze on Fireheart for several long moments until he felt that she could see everything that was in his mind.
I think you should go, she meowed
at last to the 2 young RiverClan cats.
Go on. Out, you 2, she added to Greystripe. I'll talk to Fireheart alone. I can see he's the one who needs to know.
Fireheart bit back a protest. If he insisted that Greystripe should stay, the RiverClan elder might refuse to talk at all. He looked at his friend and saw only a puzzled expression reflect in Greystripe's yellow eyes. What did Greypool have to say that she didn't want her own clan to hear? Fireheart shivered, and not from the cold. Some instincts told him that there was a secret here, dark as the shadow of a crow's wing. But if it was a RiverClan secret, he couldn't imagine what it could do with ThunderClan. From the glances they exchanged, Silverstream and Mistyfoot were just as confused, but they started back out from the bush without protest. We'll wait for you near the 2-leg bridge, Silverstream mewed.
There's no need. There's no need, Greypool hissed impatiently. I may be old, but I'm not helpless. I'll find my way back.
Silverstream shrugged, and the 2 RiverClan cats withdrew, with Greystripe following them. Greypool sat in silence until the sense of the cats who left began to fade.
Now,
she began.
Mistyfoot has told you that I'm her mother, and Stonefur's.
Why do I keep on reading that as Snowfur? Yes. Fireheart's initial nervousness was ebbing away. to be replaced with respect for this ancient enemy queen, as he sensed the wisdom beneath her apparent short temper.
Well,
She growled the old cat. I'm not. As Fireheart opened his mouth to speak, she went on. I brought the pair of them up as kits, but I didn't give birth to them. Oakheart brought them to me in the middle of Leaf Bear when they were just a few days old. But where did Oakheart get the kits? Greypool's eyes narrowed. He told me he found them in the forest, as if they'd been abandoned by rogue cats or two-legs, she meowed. But I'm not stupid, and my nose has always worked just fine. The kits smelled of the forest all right, but there was another scent underneath, the scent of ThunderClan. Ancient bro. I wonder how old she'd be. I wonder how old these cats live to. Because properly cared for cats can live up to 20 plus. But warrior cats are outside. And they kill each other a lot. But if it was just an elder, how long would the elder live? These are the questions. I feel like these guys last around 5 to 10. That makes sense. Yeah. Everything's so fast-paced. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of the elders, they're not like completely white yet, you know? They're turning white still. They're still like, it's just like around their faces and stuff. Like they're just in the process of turning white. Should we stop there? I've only been live for 2 hours. They ain't oldie, yeah. Maybe we can stop here because it's a nice, what is it? Cliffhanger! It's a cliffhanger. It's a cliffhanger. We're 46 pages in. I think that'd be a good stop point. Yeah, brain moment. So true. Dazrilio! But definitely at the pace that I'm going right now, we'll be able to finish this in like 2 more streams. Which is really good. Off topic. Nono, do you know the game Ultra Kill? No. Is it about ultra killing? Metrovania-like game. Oh. Alright. Ooh. Do you ever see art that's so pretty? I love being a VTuber, but I don't like being a VTuber in the sense there's always like amazing artists and they come on my feed and I'm like, wow, I want a model by you. I want a model by you. But then 1, I don't have the money. 2, the chances that they'll open up commissions are so low. And 3, the chances I get picked are also very low. It's so sad. But of course the first hurdle is the money, which is the biggest thing. I was so lucky with this model being what it was priced at, and that I was self-sufficient enough to be able to rig it. Oh geez, this isn't the model you want? No, I love this model. I just want a bazillion models. I want 5 million models. Bazillion models. A whole closet full of models. That's what I want. I want to celebrate all of them. But yeah, this artist is so pretty. Ooh. If I could have a lot of models, they'd all be robotic. Robotic monster-like. That's you. I'm not quite that quality yet. Making models? Making models or having models? Wow, making models. Making models seems like the hardest thing in the world because you can't really, it's hard to cut corners in the sense that everything, or not everything, but so many things need to be their own layer. I rig this model, so I'm a rigger, but I also haven't rigged in like months, so genuinely I need to re-rig, not this model, but I have another model that I need to re-rig because it was the first rig that I ever did, and it's not good. And it is unusable now, so I have to re-rig it, and I'm lazy. How long did it take you? Probably a month on and off. Imagine rigging Cookie Run characters. That could be a thing. I mean, I've seen people rig My Little Pony like characters, like with the My Little Pony art style and everything, and then they're like completely rigged. It looks so cool. So having like Cookie Run characters being rigged would probably be pretty cool and possible. But yeah, this probably took me like a month on and off because I wasn't rigging it nonstop, and also there was a lot of time I needed to like learn because I'm like learning while I'm rigging, you know. All right, guys. I don't know who's live. I think I have a cavity growing. Or at least like sensitive teeth. What engines you use? Live 2D? I know, no, it's like sensitive. It doesn't hurt when I like eat something sugary, but it's like sensitive. When I bite down, I can feel it. Sensitive-y. RP cavity. I have like really, 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 really bad cavities. I'm just like that. I just get a bazillion cavities and it's really sad. Who shall we raid today? You shall. Oh. Yugi is streaming. You're taking antibiotics? No. Wait. Do they affect teeth in a bad way or a good way? Oh wait, Yugi's playing Rain World. We're raiding Yugi. In a bad way? No! Oh wait, no, they aren't playing. They aren't playing. I lied. The preview looked like they were playing Rain World. It looked like they were playing Rain World, but they're playing something else. It's because I saw all the like the colors, and you know how Rain World has like a very specific like color scheme, like per area, it's like all the same. That's what it looked like. I got my hopes up. One of my mutuals just started Rain World a while ago, but she plays while I'm streaming this. Like while I'm streaming Warrior Cats, she's playing it. And by the time I'm finished, she's done. So I can't raid her. It's so sad.
Well, I guess I'll see you guys. Why don't you play it yourself?
It's a good question. I might play it again soon. Seeing as I actually have to finish it, I need to know the story. Okay, well, the raid's almost gonna start. So I'll see you guys on Friday. I love you. Make sure you brush your teeth, wash your face, put on sunscreen. Moderation is the key to true happiness. Goodbye.